Yeah, thanks. Ready to roll? Well, it's here. It's hard to believe that it's flown by. Some of our guys probably don't feel that way. We started in June, with all the new rules dating back to last summer with summer access model, and then the practice starting on September the 27th with 30 practices over a 42-day window. So, obviously we've played a couple exhibition games, so we've played against someone else other than ourselves a couple times, but now we get the opportunity to open the season up here and play 2 games in 3 days, and obviously our focus and sole focus is on Alabama State heading into Friday. We had yesterday off. I think guys feel pretty good mentally and physically right now, feel really refreshed and rejuvenated and excited about the season starting on Friday night, and it'll be good for our team. Watching them, they're very athletic. Very fast, quick. They play up-tempo. They're very aggressive defensively. They're in passing lanes. They're very disruptive. They're trying to force turnovers and get out. They want to run. They're great on the offensive glass. They look like darts, running in there on film, and they're very active. And so, we're going to be challenged there, obviously, after giving up 17 offensive rebounds this past weekend against Northwood. That's certainly a concern. We've got to defend the three-point line better than we did last Sunday. That's certainly a concern. So we're going to work here over today and tomorrow to get a little bit better with our own system, but also prepare very diligently for Alabama State and take it one game at a time. I like the progress that we've made. I do think we're getting better. I think individual players are improving rapidly right before our eyes, which is a great thing. I think our team is getting better and starting to understand our system better, and I think those things are all very encouraging. Questions? Lauren.
How are you handling the new rule relative to defense, how you play defense, how you handle the block charge? How are you coaching it different, if you are?
Yeah, sure. Definitely are, Lauren, trying to adjust and adapt. We've had officials in more for practices this year, maybe than I had combined over the last 2 or 3 years, just because of the rule changes and the adjustments that we needed to make and teaching our guys. Really, the 2 biggest things, and you alluded to them, Lauren. One is just the concept of moving your feet and showing your hands entirely, even one hand. So we've really emphasized that in practice, whether the officials have been there or not. That's something that's been of extreme emphasis, where guys probably even got a little frustrated at the beginning. I told our managers, will have them officiate some when the officials aren't there. Hey, if that guy breathes on that guy, call foul today. Trying to make that point to him. I think the second thing with the block charge call, Lauren, I think that's a great question. For me, I've always been a guy that's emphasized the heck out of taking charges. Have we emphasized it as much? No, because I do think that play has changed the game in terms of how it's going to be called. I think you're going to see a lot more blocks. So encouraging guys to continually take charges, I don't know how wise that is, because it's going to be called in favor, I think, of the offense mostly. So those would be 2 changes off the top of my head in terms of adjustments that you're talking about, in terms of how we coach practice and what we emphasize regarding the rule changes.
See more zones?
I think it's possible. Yeah, sure. Maybe more zone pressure, maybe more zones. People will play pick and rolls differently, and we've talked about all those things, as I'm sure all coaches have heading into the season as they're adjusting to the new rules and the emphasis that are in place on freedom of movement.
In terms of rotation, do you feel like you're in a place where you can play as many guys as you want right now, or are guys still working their way?
That's a good question, Marcus. I think we're going to have to, for sure. I just feel like after, working with our team this summer, this fall, and I've said this now early here in the season since we started on the 27th, I think we're one of those teams that's going to have to do it by committee. We are. And that means, guys being ready at the drop of a hat in giving games, in given 4-minute segments of the game, and they got to be they got to be ready to execute their role, and we've defined that for all those guys, and everybody on the team knows everybody's role. So, That's why we kind of adopted the E1H deal. I really felt like it was important watching this team that we understand it's going to take everybody with this team. And I also think that, it just takes one guy to screw it up, So we've got to, everybody's got to embrace their role and be an all-star in their role, and I think our guys understand that.
Are you in favor
Jim?
of the new rules? Do you like them?
I understand conceptually, Jim, what they're trying to do, obviously. I think, I think freedom of movement's good. I think the tough part is, I'd hate to see, just again, my opinion, where an offensive player drives the ball and invades the defender's space, initiates that invasion. At that point in time, if I came up to you right now, Jim, and tried to shove you, you might put your hands up, and there might be contact between your hands and my body. Now, I didn't initiate it, but you're doing that almost out of self-defense, whether it's an arm bar or, I think as long, again, it's just my opinion. I'm not, we've got to do what the rules say we have to do, but that's my one concern. I do think eventually that will get balanced out as we kind of figure out the, how it's going to go here early. But that would be my one concern. Other than that, conceptually, I like the concept of freedom of movement. I like that. I trying to increase spacing and some things like that I think is good for the game. But again, my one concern is just if the offensive player invades the defender's space, does the defender have a chance to, self-defense? So that's kind of my biggest concern. But I'm sure we'll get it figured out, long term.
John, how's Tracy doing?
Great. Great. I was out of town yesterday, and he called me to tell me he's feeling great. So he's doing well. He'll be ready to go.
John, in preparing for your two exhibitions you had, what kind of preparation can you take from those games as it relates to these first couple of non-conference games coming up in a 3-day period?
Sure. I think we took a lot from it, to be honest with you. I thought, think about the McKendree game, we got down early, double-digit points with a lot of fresh faces. I was anxious to see how our poise and composure looked. I was really pleased with that. I thought we stayed the course there and came back. In Northwood game, we had to, withstand a 29-4 run. Being up early, how to better handle that. Northwood, I thought, had great size up front and age. Those guys were really old. I think one of them was close to 28, about ready to turn 20. They were older, physical, taller, stronger guys. I thought that was good for us. I thought they had 4 or 5 guys that were really good three-point shooters. I thought that was good for us. I thought we had to guard 2-guard front, Princeton actions in the Northwood game. I thought that was good for us. So there's a lot of things that were, we were able to take away from the 2 exhibition games that I thought were good in terms of making us better. Those are just some of them.
And that was your first game where your young kids were exposed to a scouting report and how you go through it. How did they handle that?
Just okay, Tup. And just okay. I was disappointed a little bit. We lost some guys that we had labeled as shooters that got away from us a little bit. We've got to do a better job there. I thought maybe other than that area, though, not bad. I thought we defended screening actions well. I thought we did some good things. But, our bar's high, and, we feel like we want to execute the game plan we've worked so diligently on for, at that point, 2 days. I did it on purpose over 2 days because I knew this one was going to be over 2 days. So the film and everything, the protocol, our procedure of doing that last week's exact same as this week. When we're showing personnel, when we're showing offense, when we're showing defense, what time we're practicing, the whole nine. So I think that part's good, and hopefully we'll be a little bit better Friday with scouting than we were last Sunday. But I wouldn't grade us poor either with that. I thought we did some things well and took some things away that we were trying to take away.
How did the freshman bigs grade out defensively?
They hung in there. Nobody graded out great. I shouldn't say that. We had 2 guys. I think it was Bertrand had his best defensive grade out of his career, so I was really encouraged by that, starting to really understand and grasp the system. And then I believe it was Iki that also had a really high grade out defensively. So I thought that was really encouraging. Those guys did a great job. The other guys were okay, Rob, just okay. They've watched all their clips as to why they're just okay. I think that's really important when you're a teacher. You can't just say, hey, Rob, you need to do this better. What do I need to do better? Well, here's the clips. Boom, 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 boom. You see them. go through them. So I anticipate that those guys will be better in a lot of those areas. Morgan was okay. Colbert was okay. Nana's got to figure out, Rob, how to balance. Lauren referenced the new rules, how to balance. He did a good job of not fouling, but I don't want to completely take away from his aggressiveness and his athleticism that he brings to the table as a defender is at such an elite level. I don't want him to be passive defensively. So we got to find that balance, and Nana's a really smart kid, so I'm certain that he will.
You need those young guys come in and just get it? You said just okay a lot, but are there any guys that get it more than others?
No, but that's okay. I mean, I don't know if I've had anybody just come in and hit the ground floor and just get it, you know. Obviously, Ray gets it, but you can say, well, Ray's not necessarily a first-year player in theory because he practiced 100 and some times last year and heard the terminology and saw the film, and so he's had a little bit of an advantage, you know, on the sit-out. But yeah, we still got a long way to go with some of those other guys. But they care. They come up. I love to see them. They come up and watch film on their own, and you know they care. Now I've said that all along. We got great guys.
How do you balance the freshmen? They have to play to get better, but they're going to make mistakes. Do you let them play through their mistakes, or how do you balance that?
Yeah, a lot of prayer. No, you do. I think, Jim, you're right. It's a very delicate balance. You do have to let them play through mistakes. You know, my biggest thing is defending and rebounding. Everybody within their role has responsibilities that have been defined for them of how they have to contribute to our team on defense and defensive end and rebounding. So all 14 got to do that. Now, other guys have different roles offensively right now in this particular year, but everybody has to contribute there, and that's what I'm most concerned about, and then the rest of the stuff will take care of itself.
How much has John Eakey added to your defense and rebounding? I think we all thought of him as a shooter, but...
Yeah, DB and I were just talking about him coming over. I mean, he's more than a shooter, Jeremy. That's exactly right. And he's smart. He's learned two positions very quickly, being a new guy, very similar to Sam McLaurin in that regard, very intelligent, skilled, you know, can shoot the ball. He passes it well. He takes care of the ball. He's a deceivingly good athlete. He goes to the glass. Does what he's supposed to do. It's amazing how that works out. You know, I used to, when I was a classroom teacher, the first day I would stand up in front of the students and I'd say, just so everybody knows in here, I have favorites. And they'd all look like, he's admitting he has class. I said, yeah, I like the people more who do what they're supposed to do all the time. I like them more than the people that don't do what they're supposed to do. John does what he's supposed to do a lot. You know, so it's easy to, it's like Dustin said to me the other day, he grades out the film, and, you know, Dustin can be, takes pride in being negative at times to try to balance me. But I can't, it's hard. I grade a practice, I'm trying to ding him, or I can't, there's possessions where you just can't ding him, you know. So he does a lot of things right. And hopefully some of the younger guys are learning from that.
Is Michael Tulip taking on a different kind of a role this season?
Well, I think Mike's gotten better, you know, first of all. So he's gotten stronger. He's worked very hard at that on his body. He mentioned that in the press conference the other day. I couldn't agree more. I think he understands the system better. He's gotten better. You know, all those guys, you know, we were talking the other day, and obviously we want the freshmen to get better like right now, and I do think they're getting better. But you look at our guys, I mean, that's a pretty cool thing. You look at LaTulip's body, his game. You look at Nana gaining 25 pounds, and, you know, he's probably scored more in the low post in the 2 exhibition games maybe than he would over a 10 or 15 game stretch last year. You know, Abram's body, Abram's conditioning, Abram's shooting, you know, Bertrand's body, you know, the body fat reducing, his strength levels going up, his understanding of the system, highest defensive grade out in his career the other day. I mean, those guys are all getting better. You know, and that's what it's about for us, you know, is watching them improve. And obviously we're talking about the basketball piece right now, but for me it's really important that they improve as people and students as well. And those veteran guys have been representative of that. Now, what do I want more from them? I want them to talk. I'm beating that bandwagon since June. They got to be more vocal. You know, they got to share more vocally. And that's what I'm trying to get out of those guys more. But in terms of by example, you know, they're a great representation of what we want to represent and what we mean by, hey, watch these guys improve. I mean, they've gotten a lot better.
John, you've talked about recruiting momentum and building off that. How do you build off just momentum after momentum?
I don't think it's necessarily, Jeremy, I've said one thing, meaning, I think recruiting obviously has created a buzz. I think the 5 seniors deserve, and our assistant coaches deserve a lot of credit for how the guys last season, I thought, conducted themselves and the type of year they had last year. I think that created a buzz. I think our players, our players enjoy being in the program, the way they're treated, the way that we demand a lot out of them. And we have very much a family atmosphere. I think our players are, you talk about recruiting, your players are your best recruiters. Once guys get to campus, they interact with them and they tell the story. I think that's created, so you could go right, I think the facilities, I know Rick was just up here talking about the Renaissance Project, and, maybe he wasn't, I don't know what his topic was, but, the State Farm Center, and that's creating a buzz. And so I think it's really the people that are here. We have administration, all of us are on the same page. That's pretty cool. That's not all the time the case, and that's pretty neat. And so that makes it fun. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things that's creating that buzz. And obviously you always want to keep the momentum going. But at the same time, we're also fully aware we've got a season here coming at us, and there's going to be some adversity. There is. It happens. Adversity happens in games, it happens in possessions, it happens in seasons, and a lot of it's how you handle it. So, some of that stuff's, I always tell them, and I used the example last year with you guys, someone tries to tell you you're a rock star, probably not, and at the same time you're not scum either. It's probably somewhere in the middle. Just try to hover and stay solid, stay rock solid. I thought last year's team did a good job of that, and we'll encourage this team to do that as well.
John, you talked about that adversity. Are you almost looking forward to playing some real games and getting some situations where your team's going to face some adversity and some tough times? Yeah, I'm looking forward to the journey. I'm excited to go through the journey. We always talk about the score taking care of itself and getting caught up and wrapped up in the process of getting better every day and trying to do the right things and trying to learn when we ding stuff up. None of us are perfect. I tell them all the time, I'm not. So we're all trying to be lifelong learners and find ways to get better, and that process is fun. We love that. We love challenges. We love the process of getting better, and then we kind of let the other stuff take care of itself. So I'm really looking forward to the journey.
So you talked about the play of Rayvonte during the exhibition games.
Sure.
And what you expect from this season now that he's allowed to take the floor.
Yeah, Ray's one of those guys, again, that's gotten a lot better in the time that he's been here, from strength and conditioning to weight to body fat to shooting to, you can keep going down the line, in a lot of areas. And, we expect a lot out of Ray. We have a high standard for Ray. Ray has an ability, I think, to be a very, very good perimeter defender and also at the same time be a very good offensive player. So the demands on him are, and he knows it, we expect him to excel at both ends of the floor, at a high level. He has a well-rounded game, and we need him to bring all those things to the table, whether his shot's going in or, whether things are going his way mentally on a given night. There's going to be nights where they're not. He needs to find a way to impact the game at the defensive end and rebounding and, being where he's supposed to be, off the ball defensively, keeping the ball in front, helping us block out, making guys better. Ray has an ability to be very versatile. I've said for a long time, I think it's his best strength. He's very versatile, and we're expecting contributions in a lot of areas from Ray.
Did you think when you recruited him at Ohio that he was Big Ten caliber? I think he had a Penn State offer. But
well, I don't know. I was excited about recruiting him. When we were at Ohio, I thought he was a really good player. I didn't go in there and say, is he this level good or that? I thought he was really, really good player. Liked him a lot. He's very unique because of his strength and body for a perimeter player. Very explosive. But I've always liked Ray as a player.
John, is there something about the Chicago Simeon kids that they're more ready? It's kind of a national program. They play national TV games, state titles. Does that, I know it's still a high school program, does that make them maybe more ready than the average high school kid?
Well, the question earlier, is certain guys more ready than others? With the system, they've all got the learning curve. I think, where those guys have been helped, my dad used to always say to me, experience is such a great teacher. It helps prepare you for what's next. I think in those guys' case, they've played with big-time players, probably more than normal. They've played against more big-time players, probably a little bit more than normal. they've been under a spotlight probably a little bit more than normal. So do those experiences help them for what is next faster? Sure. Yeah, sure. I think those guys are advanced and more advanced, I should say, in some of those areas.
I'm going to reverse the question on you about what I asked before, but now do you take a guy like Revante, who has a skill for going to the basket, and say, hey, Revante, this new rule plays right in your hands?
I think we would do that anyway, Lauren. But Ray's improved as a shooter, obviously. Obviously, I think, what was he the other night, DB? 3 for 5 or 3 for 4? Or, yeah, so, we feel comfortable with him both inside and outside, Lauren, but, obviously, he's got a heck of a drive game, and, sure, I think it's beneficial to him and anybody that's a driver, And again, we'll see, how does that all balance out as the year proceeds and moves on? Does it look differently, Lauren, on January 1-ish than it does now? We'll see. We'll have to adapt and adjust, just like I tell those guys all the time. You have to adapt and adjust throughout the game. You have to adapt and adjust throughout the season, and you can't be stubborn. So we'll continue to encourage them to do that.
Do you have any questions on the phone line, Coach?
Yeah, this is Shannon Ryan. I was wanted to follow up about John Eastley. You have compared him a little bit to Sam McLaurin, and I know Sam was a guy that other players really took to right away, it seemed like. Does John Eastley have that same quality?
Both of them, from a character standpoint, are off the charts, Shannon. We love all our guys, but those two guys are exceptional. Now, part of it may be that they're older, more experienced, more mature, kind of seen the downs and as well as the ups, of college basketball and being a student athlete and how to handle those things. But John is, no question about it, by example. The guys on our team respect him, who he is both on and off the court, in a very similar way that they respected Sam in that regard. Anything else?
Hey, John, this is Steve Greenberg from the Sun-Times. I wanted to ask, this maybe something a little bit like semantics, but if you look at our roster on which you've got only 4 players listed as front court players, as forwards or centers, or regular forward center, what's the significance of that? Is that somehow tied in with the identity of this year's game? I like to do that.
Steve, I think the question was about the number of forwards and posts we have relative to perimeters. Was that you were breaking up there, but I think that was your question. Is that correct?
Yes, sorry if you can hear me so well. It's just the roster itself. It's unusual to have a roster with only, a couple forwards and a couple post guys on it. And of course you'll have guys who are designated as guards who will defend bigger positions and all that. That's why I said it's kind of semantics, but I wanted to know what the significance of that is in your view, that it looks like a small roster.
Yeah, well, obviously for us, and I think you see the game changing and moving in that direction. When it really hit me was last summer when I went out for the USA basketball stuff in Vegas, and they had a portion of the scrimmage where they were playing James and Durant at 4 and 5. That's when I realized, wow, this thing is really moving that way. I think mobility's become more important than it ever has. The game has changed a little bit with the speed and the tempo and athleticism and length of the players. We like who we have. In addition to the guys we have on the roster, Darius Paul is a forward, / post for us as well, that we're excited about how he's developing and growing. Unfortunately, he's not able to play for us this year, but you got Nana, and you got Mav, and you got Austin, and you got John, and we feel like we like how we kind of put our roster together in terms of how it fits our style of play. Obviously everybody likes more size, and I think we're locked in on addressing that as we build our team moving forward through recruiting. But we like our team. I think it's really built for how we play. I think Nana's really gotten better at being more of a player in that box area, we call it, whether it's offensively or defensively. And I think that's really going to help our team. And, Mav is, whatever he is, 6'10 and a half, 6'11", 245 pounds. So I think he's got a chance to be pretty good and getting better. And, some of those other guys are more forwards. But, we're excited about who we have. I mean, we have who we have at this point. We're going to make the most of it and try to play to our strengths. But all in all, I think, you'd like to have more size. But for us, I think it's more important that we don't sacrifice, mobility and agility, especially at positions 1 through 4. 5, a little bit different. But the way we play, I think it's really important to have mobility and agility at the 1 through 4 positions.
Appreciate that.
Sure. Anything else?
Have you named captains, John?
Not yet. We're voting this week, Mark. Yeah, voting this week. In fact, we should. There's a. I'll talk to some of the other coaches today, but we'll have something here for you shortly.
Coach here?
All right, guys. Thanks.